there have been so many disagreements, differences between me and some of my family. This current situation that has been ongoing for 5 years with regard to human life and safety is the sticking point. It is the only thing that's left. Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things. But, you know, there is. I would love reconciliation with my family. You know, there's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. You know, he won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. You know, I love my country. I always have done, despite what some people in that country have done. So, you know, I miss the UK. I miss parts of the UK, of course I do. And I think that it's really quite sad that I won't be able to show, you know, my children my homeland. Yeah, I don't want history to repeat itself. I think there's a lot of other people out there, the majority, that also don't want history to repeat itself. Through the disclosure process, I've discovered that some people want history to repeat itself, which is pretty dark.
That's quite a statement. Who do you think that is? I'm
not going to share it at this point. I have had it described to me, once people knew about the facts, that this is an good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up, and that's what it feels like.
So should Keir Starmer step in?
I would ask the Prime Minister to step in. I would ask Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, to look at this very, very carefully, and I would ask her to review RAVEC and its members. At this point, I'm feeling very let down. You know, it's the minority of people, especially those that read the tabloids and the press themselves. The press themselves have incited so much hatred towards myself, my wife, and even our children, that's hard to forgive. You know, there are decisions that have been made, there are things that have happened since 2016 especially, throughout my whole life, but let's just stick since 2016, there are things that have happened that I can now forgive. I've moved past that. I can forgive my family's involvement, my father's, my brother, and my stepmother. I can forgive the press to a large extent as well for so many things that have happened. What I'm struggling to forgive, and what I will probably always struggle to forgive, is that a decision that was made in 2020 that affects my every single day. You know, no matter how much private security I have around me, there's only so much that I can do and operate and function within the UK when it comes to supporting my charities, visiting my friends, all of these things. So, you know, I've been treated very, very, very differently to everybody else that exists. All examples that exist, past, present, I have been singled out.
Do you want the court battle to continue? Do you want to try to see this get to the Supreme Court?
I don't want any battles to continue. There is way too much suffering and way too much conflict in the world. At the heart of it is a family dispute. And it makes me really, really sad that we're sitting here today, 5 years later, where a decision that was made, most likely, in fact, I know, to keep us under the roof. But then once you realize that that wasn't going to work, once they realized that, you know, myself, my wife, and our kids are happier outside of the institution, then please just look at the facts. I can never leave the royal family. You know, that is my family. That is my larger family. I left the institution because at the end of the day I had to. I didn't leave it in 2020. I left it in 2021 but security was removed in 2020.
You know, he's gone to America, he's made his life over there, he's making lots of money out of media and books and so on. I don't necessarily think that's a reason not to speak to his father, though, because I don't think his father's done anything wrong necessarily. So it just seems a shame that they can't all sort of make amends as a family.
I feel like this should just all come together and, you know, be able to speak. And it's kind of, you know, to me it feels like he's still part of that family. So at least from the American side, we all see it that way. So they should be reconciling. At least that's my opinion. Well, I don't know, because I think because he left the royal family, there's probably some people feel some certain ways about that. So it probably makes sense to have some sort of protection.
I'm indifferent, completely indifferent. I really don't care what Harry does. He's like a person I've never met, not interested in him or the king. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.